the round of 128, so we still have plenty of content to come in the near future. As the button is pressed and into Champion Select we go. Ori instantly coming out as the first man there. That's very interesting. One of those AP assassins. Some people claim that she got nerfed in a recent patch, and I would actually agree. They turned a lot of her damage, or rather based a lot of her damage around making sure she lands those clutch charms, which was altered to allow her to deal 20% bonus magic damage to a target when she hits them with her charm ability. And there's a ban you never really see, Gragas actually. He's very potent, seen a lot in the Season 3 World Championships, but not necessarily a meta ban, I would say.
I'm sorry, technical difficulties. I was just told I was not be able to be heard. That should be fixed now. And yeah, as I said, welcome to the EGL Summoners Cup number 12 between the team Nick Cage and Sein team. We are in Champ Select, of course. Bans have been Ari, Nautilus, and Oriana for Nick Cage, and Gragas, Nasus, and Kassadin for Team Sein team. I'm sorry about that.
Well, Kassadin ban, not a huge surprise. As I said with the Ari, he's one of those AP assassins that people very much dislike playing against. Oriana and Nautilus also banned out, and it looks like that Nick Cage are going to be hovering over the Lee Sin and locking that in. So we are going to see, hopefully, some blind Qs coming out throughout the space of the game.
Hopefully. Would be pretty exciting. I'm actually curious if that's going to be a top lane Lee Sin or a jungle Lee Sin. I'm going to have to see in a moment as it stands. A couple of picks coming out from Sein team. They're hovering over Thresh and Elise here. And again, I'm going to see if that's a top Elise or a jungle Elise, although jungle Elise is more common. They are both locked in, so we're going to see what Team Nick Cage will do in response here.
Well, we see Divine Wound hovering over Annie at this stage. We don't know what MD Demon is going to go for. He's looking at the Renekton, and that's locked in as well, so that confirms suspicions that Lee Sin is going to be the jungler. I'm not at all surprised by that. I just realised I may have been slightly insensitive on my previous comment, because with Lee Sin, almost every Q is blind.
Oh. Oh god. Yes.
Annie also locked in, who one of those very, very popular, was definitely popularised by the Koreans in the Season 3 World Tournament. You see her a lot now. Heavy damage, and every 4 spells puts out a stun that lasts 1.75 seconds, and that's never to be sneezed at. We also see Cytix on GST locking in Vayne. Now, I would say that definitely means that GST is going to be heading for that late game, because that is when Vayne gets ridiculously strong. Malphite, as is being hovered over right now, and I would assume is probably going to be locked in. Malphite is also a very strong late game champion. Elise has good presence throughout the game, but Thresh also as well kind of really comes into his own in the later stages of the game when he's quite tanky and able to initiate with a good death sentence.
We do see more of a team fight oriented team composition coming out of Sein team. Here, they seem to be going for Protect the Vayne. Every champion that they have picked, very potent peeling maneuvers available for all of them. We got the Cocoon, we got the Unstoppable Forge, we got Thresh, who is basically a peel by himself with all of his skills. And for Nick Cage, we do see possibly a Corki Zyra bottom lane, or a Corki Annie and Zyra mid. So that is going to be quite interesting to see, since both of these champions can be played both mid and support, and mostly in competitive tournaments we have seen them played support. So we're going to see how they switch around.
Very interesting, yes, as you say. Wow, I'm getting messed up. Annie and Zyra, both semi-interchangeable in the middle lane. I would say that it's more likely than not that Annie is going to take that middle lane. I think that after the Thresh, Annie is not necessarily a particularly good pick, because in the early stages of the game, and especially when Annie doesn't have her stun up, then a death sentence is, well, going to be, oh wait, a death sentence.
Yes, that is true. Every caster has to make that pun at some point during his casting career. And you chose this one. I chose a couple of ones. I tend to do that pun way too often, actually. Anyway, going away from puns, back to picks. Xerath being hovered over here from Gnom Sein team. And I suppose that he also does not quite know who he's going to be up against due to that Annie and Zyra support and mid confusion. As it stands, we see Xerath locked in. Let's take this time to go over the players and their positions real quick as they do switch around, giving us a final overview. There we go. No more switching to come. Okay, so for Team Nick Cage in the top lane, it's going to be MD Demon on Renekton. In the jungle, it's going to be Kalmina 1 playing Lee Sin, so it's a jungle Lee Sin. Integer on mid playing Zyra. Fixiokas and Divine Wound on AD and support playing Annie and Corki. And for Namsign team, it's going to be Pyro Nexus in the top lane on that Malphite. In the jungle, Wannabe 1991 playing Elise. In the mid lane, Cyber Fox on Xerath. And Excitix and Zoctan on AD support with Vayne and Thresh. So there's the team compositions. We got them all laid out. What are your thoughts on the most important things they need to be going for here? Of course, and for Namsign team, we see a very late game oriented team right here. So they're gonna have to look to feed their Vayne, to get their Vayne fed, get her some farm, get her some kills, and then protect her in those late game team fights. But looking at Team Nick Cage here, what do you think about them and their picks?
The potential for a pick-off on the Vayne is always quite nasty because of the fact that they do have Colmina 1 on that Lee Sin. If he lands Sonic Wave, then that's already a hellish situation for Excitix to be on the Vayne, as he has multiple methods of being able to see through stealth, so Final Hour, even though it's got a lot of damage, may not save her if she's trying to escape. He also has very high damage and an attack speed slow coming out from his cripple ability. In terms of catch outsides of that, it would have to be a good grasping roots or using that Pyromania stun from Annie to just lock up Excitix. Besides that, in team fights, I would say though that Nyanside team have a much better fight really. They have a lot more area of effect potential. They have Cyberfox on that Xerath with his Barrage ultimate, dealing so much damage, falling from the sky, 3 different charges of it, and that's the range on that is increased every when he utilizes Locus of Power. I'm tripping over my words today. We've got Pyronexus, good AoE damage with the Ground Slam, and a great AoE initiation with his Unstoppable Force. Wannabe on Elise. Cocoon, always something you have to be very wary of. And Doctan, another engagement with the Death Sentence, Flay, and the Box.
That is true. And the insane setups that those ultimates, especially when combined, can do. Just imagine a Thresh Box followed by a Malphite Unstoppable Force followed by a Xerath Arcane Barrage can deal so much damage in such a short time. So you're going to have to look out for the late game and hopefully see some exciting fights right there. So from Team Nick Cage, we do have the Corki and Annie bottom lane, very bursty. Both of these champions. Annie, of course, a more aggressive support, especially in the early stages of the game. We got the Renekton with this Slice and Dice, very mobile. Can also stun Pyronexus and possibly interrupt his teleport, should he attempt one.
Yes, indeed. Make sure that that's one thing Ruthless Predator is going to have to be saved for, because if Pyronexus actually gets his teleport down to the bottom lane, that is going to turn a 2v2 fight that was already fairly even into a pretty much landslide. If Pyronexus can get in and land Unstoppable Force on Fix Lucas, he is most likely going to die, as the Death Sentence should be pretty much unable to miss at that point.
Yes, very Very indeed. So the game is in the loading screen. We are about to get into the action. Again, it's going to be Team Nick Cage versus Sein team in the EGL Summoners Cup, number 12, round of 128. I am looking forward to a very exciting game. All the players are around gold and platinum range. We do see a couple of diamond borders here, but that's apparently from the other queues. Or I'm not actually sure how the League of Legends clients decides what division to show.
I'm not actually sure on the functionality for that either. I think it's probably just the higher one attained, be it in team or in solo queue. I think it is.
Well, it's an eternal question that nobody of us will ever be able to answer. Probably not, but still, it sounds more dramatic that way. The loading indicators are slowly rising as our last player reaches 100%, so we should be getting into the game momentarily. So, you probably know what's coming now. Level 1. What do you think we'll see? Or why do you think we won't see anything?
The potential for level 1 is quite good on both teams. Maybe slightly more so on Nick Cage because of the fact that Zyra can start grasping roots and not lose much damage for it. It still does quite a bit of damage, and it is a very good snare. That, combined with the fact that Colmenar will start, or most likely start, with his Sonic Wave, that means that it's very easy to try and catch someone and burst them down before they maybe even have a chance to flash away. Either that, or they'll be able to force a flash very easily. Then again, on the flip side, Zoctan will be starting Death Sentence, and Wannabe, on the victorious Elise, could potentially start with her Cocoon / Repel, which would provide a second CC and allow for pretty much the exact same thing on non-side team.
We are in the game. Game has started, and we do see both teams going into position in their own respective jungles. Or do we? We do see MD Demon hanging around the enemy Tribrush area. And he is joined by Divine Wound. A ward is placed in there. And here comes Pyronexus on that Malphite to cover the jungle up. It does not look like they're about to make any aggressive moves. Just MD Demon hanging around in that Tribrush. A little more deep than usual, but still, it's a position to wait for the minions to come in and potentially scout anything that might happen in that upper area. Other than that, we do see the teams taking positions at their blue and red buffs, respectively. Sonic Wave coming out, trying to scout if someone's standing there. Of course, there could always be a threat there waiting to throw that death sentence out. Minions have spawned. It does not look like... I know what you mean with stumbling over words. It does not look like we'll see any aggressive junglings here, as Malphite actually finds Renekton here in the top lane. They have a little bit of a quarrel. Exchange some damage, but nothing more is going to come from that.
I'm slightly interested, actually. I've noticed that Elise has started with a Doran's Blade in the jungle, which I would not say under any circumstances is a particularly... or is a normal start. It definitely helps with the sustain due to the fact that Doran's Blade restores 5 health every time you attack. But I may be very much wrong, as we see the wider form of the victorious Elise. I can't not think that it looks like a sentry from StarCraft 2.
Well... well... Considering that the wards pretty much look like pylons from StarCraft 2, one might wonder where Riot got their inspiration for those Season 3 skins. But we digress. This is not StarCraft, this is League of Legends.
I just realized the best idea for a skin ever. Right, you need to get onto this. Imagine a skin for Zed where he looks like a Zealot.
Zealot Zed? Zedlet? I don't know.
There you go. Get on that, Riot. That is a glorious idea.
Yeah, free skin ideas, Riot. Free money to be made right here. We do see both junglers getting into position here in the top lane as Lee Sin is caught out by the Elise Cocoon. Loads of damage coming around, but he's going quite low. MD Demon also joining now. Elise may be in some trouble here. Lee Sin has to flash away. Wannabe flashes after him. And that's the first blood actually coming out here. Elise goes down and a double kill for Lee Sin and a wonderful turnaround. That's going to kickstart things.
Yes, indeed. Double kill coming out for Coleman R1 on the Lee Sin. That is really going to kickstart his potent early game threat. Realised that I'd forgotten to sort out the positioning of champions at the bottom.
Well, that's okay.
Yep, we already see a 1,000 gold advantage coming out for Nick Cage at this stage. It's not even 4 minutes into the game yet, and a 1,000 gold advantage.
Yeah, that's true. It's going to be really, really huge, as we do see Vayne having a bit of HP trouble down in that bottom lane. He's sitting quite low on HP due to constant poke from Annie and Corki. We're going to see if he'll be able to heal himself up with those Dorn's Blade procs. Still, they're going to have to watch out here. As on the top lane, Malphite again in a little bit of a quarrel here with Renekton. Goes quite low. He's having a tough time in lane. Already died once. Missed out on a couple of CS due to that. And here in the jungle, we see actually Elise going quite low as Lee Sin catches him out with a Sonic Wave and picks up the kill.
3-0 Lee Sin so early into the game. This could very much snowball very quickly.
Oh, the stun lands onto Vayne in the bottom lane, and Corki immediately activates his Gatling gun to pick him up. Another kill going over to Nick Cage, and this game is running out of control here for Gnom Sein team.
Yep, 2,000 gold advantage before 5 minutes. I definitely think they need to stabilize their sentence landing onto the siege minion.
Well, that siege minion sure died. A nice pickup there, but it's not as much gold as a champion, really.
Yeah, unfortunately the game, it doesn't revolve around killing siege minions.
It would be much more exciting if it were, because constant fights and all that. Fight for the siege minions. How about a new game mode, Riot? We're pumping out ideas here. Hopefully somebody is watching and taking notes, because there's a load of money to be made from all this.
Yeah, the only problem with the Zealot Zed, I suppose, is the fact that they'd have to get permission from Zed. I'm not sure.
Well, he didn't ask for permission
well.
for the ward skins. I mean, he doesn't have to look exactly like a Zealot. Only a little bit. Like the ward skins. Like the Victorious Elisa Spider form.
Fair enough. Apparently we have some rumblings coming from the admins. You haven't sorted out the box at the bottom.
Oh, actually I did, but I made a mistake. But anyway, Divine Wound going down here after getting condemned against the wall by Vayne. And that's the first kill here for Gnom Sein team. As I do quickly sort out this, and there we should go.
Yeah, that was a very, very good use of the Dark Passage Lantern from Zoctan there. Threw it out, allowing Wannabe to get into the fight very quickly, and there was absolutely nothing Divine Wound could do to escape. But very wise from him, didn't decide to waste his flash when he was going to die anyway.
That's true, that was a pretty much certain death. And a nice gank coming out from Elisa. Obviously had a very rough start. 2 deaths right off the bat. That assist gonna put some gold in his pocket. Not as much as 3 kills on Elisa, of course, but it's a start. The gold lead is still at 1.4k, and we do see pretty even CS all over the map, really.
Yeah, earlier on, at the earlier stages, we did actually see Fixucas, quite a difficult name to actually say, Fixucas on the Corki have a considerable CS advantage over Excitix's Vayne, but he has managed to pull that back over the past couple of minutes. Gold lead is still hovering around 2,000, but it does seem that Gnom Sein team is stabilizing quite nicely in the early stages.
Well, as long as it's stabilizing and not getting worse, this game can still be salvaged. Good poke coming out here from Xerath in the middle lane. And actually quite interesting to see a Zyra getting played mid once in a while. Because every Zyra that has been seen in competitive play and amateur play has been support traditionally after the Koreans popularized it. And Cloud9 took that over for their very potent Ashe and Zyra bottom lane combo.
Yeah, the fact was though, Integer Zyra was actually released as a mid lane champion. She was definitely popularized or advertised by Riot as a mage, and so to see her being played mid after the divergence to support. It's nice to see. It's maybe a little bit of a nostalgia trip.
It's actually quite interesting to see that there's a champion for which it was actually the exact other way around. Namely Lux. She was advertised as a support, and actually Renekton going aggressive here onto Malphite in the top lane, pops his ultimate, picks up the kill, may go down to the turret here. Yes, he does, so it's a 1-for-1.
Yeah, didn't quite land the slice, so he wasn't able to dice out to safety.
Oh, and a Sonic Wave lands onto Elise here, who quickly repels away, joined by Xerath here, played by CyberFox. The kick, Dragon's Rage, and on the bottom lane actually, Zoctan and Excitix in a little bit of trouble, as Excitix goes down here, but Excitix may be looking for fix Yukas here as he does tumble directly into the brush, but the rocket and another Q from Annie picks them up. It's another 2-for-0 on the bottom lane, and of course Elise went down to give another kill to Lee Sin. And now the gold leads at 3,300, so it has increased once more, and that is not something Namsan team is looking for here.
Despite the fact that they have a 6-kill advantage at this stage, it interests me that Nick Cage haven't decided to go for a dragon at this early stage of the game. We do see Coleman R1 backing out though. He is currently sat on 1,800 gold, so he's going to be able to pick up a lot of items on this back. And we do see him pick up a Kindle Gem and Boots of Speed, his Spirit Stone, and some health potions. So, very nice amount of items right there. Going to have his presence even more felt across the map.
We do see the Booterizer picked up in the top lane by Renekton as he constantly goes aggressive against Pyronexus. And he's really getting bullied in lane. If we take a look at the CS, he is starting to fall behind considerably. He's now at a 20 CS disadvantage, constantly pushed against his turret. But MD Demon has that river warded. And Wannabe 1991 is needed elsewhere on the map. So he has pretty much free reign over his map and lane pressure right there.
Yep, wards being cleared out in the bottom lane. Excitix and Zoctan should be aware that Coleman was there. He was blowing out the wards, but this situation is a lot of efforts being put in by Excitix to just try and get some farm out. So who knows, we might see yet more big plays come forth as a site ward. I'm going to call it a pylon ward just for fun. Pylon ward is placed in that bottom brush by Zoctan. In fact, I probably shouldn't. I'll get sued by Blizzard. I don't know.
Well, I do doubt that, but whatever floats your boat, man. On the middle lane, we do see Elise getting into position for a gank onto Integer. The cocoon lands. Here comes the ring, Arcane Barrage, and look at that burst damage. Integer explodes, but not before dealing a considerable amount of damage onto CyberFox as well. Not enough to take him down, though.
The Rise of the Thorns passive from Zyra actually forced CyberFox to burn his barrier, even though it didn't hit him. So, there's one maybe wasted summoner spell for the sake of safety.
Yeah, it could have hit, and then it would have been a kill. But, of course, we do see Lee Sin going onto the mid lane, trying to take down CyberFox, but he gets stunned by the cocoon, and now Wannabe is behind him. He's probably going to go down here. Or will he? Does the safeguard. Nice Dragon's Rage. Kicks away Elise and manages to survive. Or will he? He's now getting circled in here by that Malphite. But here comes Elise jumping onto him, picking up the kill, getting the shutdown money. That's going to be a good chunk of gold going into his pocket.
Yep, wasn't able to ward jump, didn't have space in his infantry for any wards. Would have been a wonderful escape had he jumped over into the Baron Pit and escaped. As the pause comes out, I will just hopefully message the team. Oh, never mind. They're doing the job for me, and I keep forgetting that we're 3 minutes behind.
That is true. So, a pause coming out. Hopefully that will get sorted out quite soon. Looking at the state of the game right now, gold is still about 2,500 in between those two teams. 8 kills to 4 in favor of Team Nick Cage here, as they are still quite in control of the game. They have that very fed Lee Sin in the jungle, who just went down for the first time due to a very ballsy play on the mid lane, trying to take down that Xerath. Went in a little bit too deep. Where do you think the game could go from here?
It could very easily snowball at this stage. As you've said, Lee Sin is incredibly fed at this point. He's 4-1, which means that his presence throughout the jungle is very, very high. What I'd very much like to see Nomside team do at this point is just focus on putting wards out in their jungle. Because at this point, Coleman R1 is just counter jungling and roaming around and ganking, and Nomside team don't really know where he is most of the time. They need to have more vision in their own jungle especially, and some in the opposing jungle, just so that they can keep tabs on where Coleman is, and so he can't have even more of a profound effect in this game, and that he can't snowball. Because if he's allowed to get into a lane, then it's very likely that kills are going to be picked up for Nick Cage.
That is very true. Coleman R1 still a very strong force here for Team Nick Cage, but we do actually know that if Lee Sin does not manage to snowball extremely, he does fall off in the late game, has to build tanky. At least that's how most of the Lee Sins I see are played. They turn from very aggressive early ganking machines into very tanky dive in and try to kick someone out champions in the middle and late game stages of a Summoner's Rift match. So, sorry, continue.
That's very true. But if Colmenar can get a lot of kills, that's also a lot of assists going across to his team in the early stage of the game. And if he can get high damage and tanky very quickly, then the game's going to be completely shut out, as Colmenar won't be able to get caught out. He'll have so much health that he'll be able to ward jump endlessly and just juke out the members of non-side team, distracting them, while the rest of Nick Cage can push down objectives, like the Dragon, which, at 12 minutes, I'm still very surprised hasn't been touched.
That is true. They did not pay much attention to that Dragon. That could have even more snowballed the game into their favor, but as it stands, Namtine team still has chances in this game. This is still anyone's game. Just need a couple of good plays, maybe pick up a turret or two, and coordinate, especially with that Malphite teleport. They have so potent possibilities and opportunities to teleport in to a ward that's behind the enemy lines, then jump in, use the unstoppable force, and pick up some kills for themselves.
Yes, very, very true. Just a little minor welcome to any who may have arrived in the interim to the EGL number 12 Summoners Cup tournament. This is an unrestricted tournament. Players of any level can be included. We are currently 12 minutes and 24 seconds into this round of 128 game between Team Nick Cage on the blue side and Nomside team on the red side.
Very, very true, and there's also a lot of at stake here in this tournament, as the winning team gets 3,200 RP and the victorious Rice skin for every player. And if you end up in second place, it's still not that bad, as you'll still receive a nice and hefty 2,400 RP per player, but no skin though.
Depends on whether you really consider Rise to be a worth it maybe champion, because you can still get quite a lot of very nice skins with that 2.4k IP.
That's true, but of course it's a limited skin,
IP?
and
RP.
I think that's gonna stay limited for a while as well. Otherwise it would lose its exclusivity. Yeah.
Exclusivity.
Exclusivity. Exclusivity. Exactly, that's what I meant.
Moving on.
Moving on. Exactly. And the top lane, we do see the CS lead that MD Demon had on that Renekton over Pyronexus' Malphite has skyrocketed. It is now at almost 30 straight, and this is getting really out of control. Malphite has died twice in lane and is still having a hard time. Is out-leveled by MD Demon and also out-damaged. Even his shield can't really do much for him.
The fact that MD Demon is playing so aggressive at the early stages of this game means that Pyronexus' Granite Shield doesn't have time to actually come back up before MD Demon's coming back in and resetting the timer. Its Granite Shield is when Pyronexus, as in Malphite, is not attacked for a set period of time, I believe it's about 10 seconds, yes it is, then he will end up suffering damage within that 10 seconds. It resets the cooldown, and since MD Demon has reconnected, we are back into the game. I got a little poke from the admin saying that teams are only allowed 10 minutes worth of pause time, so hopefully we should be straight up forward.
I'm not actually sure if Renekton is really back, as Pyronexus is just freely bashing away at him as he stands in that brush, so we might see another pause coming out quite soon. But as long as that doesn't happen, let's focus on the game. This here. Oh, there it comes. Oh, man. Another pause.
Unfortunately, these things do happen. We have seen a lot of issues on the US server over the past few months, but I can't say that this is a directed thing. It's like, oh my god, guys, Riot are trying to sabotage this Renekton player. No. You would be stupid to try and believe such conspiracy theories.
Yeah. But maybe... maybe... No. So, Renekton seems to have some issues with his internet here, of course, as you probably all have noticed. I hope that he'll be able to get back into the game, as it does look like it's going to be quite an interesting game. And, he's even on the winning team right now. I'm not sure if he can, if it's going to be called a winning team, as, it's just a 2,500 gold lead at this point. And, it hasn't really increased that much over the past few minutes. It was pretty high very early in the game, and then kind of stabilized at 2,000 to 3,000, so everything is still open here for, Gnom Sein team. But having to forfeit here due to internet connection issues would be really a shame.
Very, very true, especially since it is the team that is currently ahead, as you have already said. A lot of chit-chat going on between the two teams. They've got nothing better to do as they wait, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I actually have the chat turned off, so in case any profanities get thrown out. We don't really want to show those on stream, so can you just paraphrase what they're talking about?
Most of it, a good portion of it is in German, so I don't understand it being British and therefore wonderfully arrogant of any language but English. Besides that, it's mostly conversation about the current state of the US server, etc., etc.
Oh. Yeah. EU West. We all know how that server has its, let's call them issues, let's call it sometimes. But Riot are working on it. They have thrown out a couple of posts, and hopefully in December we'll have a more stable EU West server. As it stands, there's 1 minute of pause time left, and I'm actually going to have to contact the tournament admin for this. Oh, never mind, the game has been unpaused. Play will resume right now, as we do see them, Renekton, moving around. So he does seem to be back, or no, actually he's not back. It's just his DC character moving back to base. So they do choose to continue the game.
The Team Nick Cage have actually decided in the chat that they are going to play 4v5. They do not want to forfeit this game, and that's very, very admirable.
That's true. They are going to fight, even when outnumbered, against all the odds, trying to take down Gnom Sein team. And we do see Renekton actually reconnect to the game. Hopefully he will stay in here as well, as Kalmanat catches out Malphite in the top lane, lands a Sonic Wave, Resonating Strike, immediately follows. He has still a bunch of distance left to his turret. Another Sonic Wave coming out, hits a minion though he won't be able to dive him right there. We do see the Renekton moving, so he is back in the game and will hopefully stay in the game, because a 4v5, of course, not a very favorable matchup. As we look at the bottom lane, still a very distinct advantage here for that Corki Annie lane. Sein and Thresh constantly sitting at their turret with very low health. And they might actually watch out here, because if they want to dive, I think their burst would be enough. But we do see Wannabe 1991 coming in here into the Tri-Brush. The Thresh Lantern is pulled in, so they are starting a counter-attack, but Fixiokas having used that Valkyrie, but the Cocoon still lands. Flash box out of Thresh. They force the flash out of Fixiokas, but he still goes down. Divine Wound attempted to get condemned against the wall, but they do decide to dive him here and will take him down. Yes, they will. Double kill for Vayne. Meanwhile, in the top lane, we do actually see Malphite going down, but here is Xerath to pick up the kill onto Lee Sin. So all over the map, a 3-for-1 in favor of Nick Cage as the Arcane Barrage comes out of Cyberfox, but he immediately gets stunned here by MD Demon, canceling most of his damage out. And he does get away.
And as I said before, the first mostly contested objective, the Dragon, has gone uncontested to Nomside team. That has absolutely axed the gold lead that Team Nick Cage had. It's only 500 gold in it now, and only 2 kills in it as well. 9-4-7, the current score at 15 minutes in this round of 128 game in the League of Legends Summoners Cup tournament.
Well, I thought we would see Integer getting into a very tough situation as he was circled in by multiple Nomside team members, but they don't decide to act upon that. Maybe they didn't see him. By the time he moved into lane, Cyberfox was already behind the wall, so not really much opportunity to set something up here. Could have been big, though. What could have been?
We're not going to go back to the siege that didn't happen, are we? That was just dumb.
No. I think
Good.
we'll leave that to actually nothing, because no. Just no. Descent is attempted out of Thresh, but does not quite land on that Yoriel in an airplane. As he just continues to farm, and we do see Cytix going back. He is currently sitting on almost 2,700 gold, so that's going to be a nice chunk of items getting picked up for him right there. We do see that even though Corki is significantly out farming Vayne in lane, the gold between the two is not that far apart, only 200 at this point, the total gold, of course. And we do see Vayne pick up the Blade of the Rune King, so that's going to be a huge power spike, as we all know and love it. Or not love it so much. At least not when the Vayne's in the enemy team.
As we all pretty well know, Blade of the Ruin King is one of the 2 necessary items in any Vayne build. It grants another form of percentage health damage.
Barely a Sonic Wave land onto Vayne here. Manages to tumble away in time and get away. As Nick Cage made a move on towards the dragon area. I'm not sure if they actually know if the dragon is gone already. We did see Nomsine team pick that one up, but then they gave up a couple of kills. So the gold difference still stays at 2,000 at this point. MD Demon in the top lane going aggressive here onto Pyronexus. And he, again, has to back away. Very, very lane bully. Such damage.
Yes, we see fights going down over and over in the top lane, and we also see Integer Zyra backing out to pick up her first major item, that Athene's Unholy Grail. Make sure that she never has any mana issues.
And meanwhile, we see a push from Nomside team onto the middle outer turret. Here comes Lee Sin to hopefully help and defend that one, but Vayne came up from the bottom lane as well. Of course, that little Lee Sin pressure gave time for Integer to show up and help with the defense. We do see MD Demon also rotating down from the top lane, but quickly backing away as he sees that his teammates have the situation under control, and they do start a counter push as 4 members of Nomsine team are around the middle outer turret, hoping to defend it from the incoming push. Well, no, they do back away.
Yep, Commoner 1 trying to cycle around onto that top lane, but the ward in the river placed by Pyronexus's Malphite sees that coming and he backs away. That is going to be a tower though. MD Demon, it is but a single auto attack from falling, as it does indeed fall, making it a 2-0 current tower lead, and once again extending that gold lead to about 3,000 or 2,500 in favor of Team Nick Cage.
And you see 3 members of Team Nick Cage gathering around that top inner turret here for Nomsine team, and Pyronexus is going to have a tough time defending this one as the rest of his team decides to barrel down the middle lane, but the turret is going quite low. Damage is constantly going down onto him. Not sure if he will be able to defend this one. Meanwhile, on the middle lane, we do see Gnom team picking up a Zyra here, but the turret in the top lane goes down, then immediately engage onto Pirate Nexus. MD Demon pops his ultimate, is straight there to deal the AoE damage, but Pirate Nexus does manage to get to his inhibitor turret. Meanwhile, on the bottom lane, Gnom team again hoping to pick up a turret here. Oh, they actually do see the dive onto Pirate Nexus here. Valkyrie in from Fixiokas picks up the kill onto him, and that's probably going to be an inhibitor turret as nobody from Gnom team is in position to defend this one. They're all in the bottom and or middle lane. And only Thresh is there to defend this. And he won't be able to. They are bashing away on the inhibitor. They will be probably able to pick this up here as they trade 2 turrets and an inhibitor for 2 turrets, and that's not really a good trade, especially considering that they both were outer turrets, and the 2 turrets that did get picked up here by Nick Cage were an inhibitor turret and an inhibitor and an inner turret on the top lane. Vayne, meanwhile, following Coleman one final tumble, and the Silver Bolt's Brock will be able to pick him up, so that's a bit of a consolation prize, but they do lose their top inhibitor this early in the game, and I'm not sure if that was worth it.
Yes, indeed, definitely not. An inhibitor down at 20 minutes into the game is definitely a sign the game is not going your way. 11 for 9 the kill, so not a very, very large kill lead, but the golden play does sit around 2,000, and it is about 10 seconds before the dragon pops back up in his pit in the bottom half of the map. Both teams do know that he was killed earlier, and as we see, dragon is now live. I imagine that if Team Nick Cage can successfully push down this middle lane, that they'll try and get a dragon, or they'll try and go for a second inhibitor.
We'll see as MD drives right in for the flash out of Cyberfox. The ultimate is popped. They're all going so low. Stranglethorn's trying to throw up the Elise, but she uses Repel. But all of that allowed the rest of Team Nick Cage to pick up that middle outer turret, and they are going to rotate down the river, or are they? They do decide to stick around in the middle lane. Possibly look for a fight here. We did see a couple of ultimates burn that fight, so maybe they should wait until those are back up until attempting another one. We do see them getting on towards that dragon now, possibly picking it up, probably picking it up, as Sein team is in no position to contest this one in any way. So that's a free dragon for Team Nick Cage after having picked up a turret. No kills, but they are now inside Sein team's jungle, and look at that. Thresh and Vayne have to be careful here. They may be running into a now actually 5-man Nick Cage death squad, and they do rotate down onto that bottom inner turret and are going to pick that one up too. Turrets going down all over the map for Sein team here. They have to watch out not to let this game get even further out of control than it already is. Team Nick Cage still on the offensive. Cocoon lands onto Divine Wound. And here comes the Sonic Wave, actually lands onto Zeref, but they do not decide to dive in. And after having picked up quite a few things for themselves, Nick Cage backs away.
Yep, every single member of Nick Cage has a decent amount of gold on them. 1,000 in most cases. However, we do see Interview with 1,300 and Coleman 1, and is it actually Coleman 1? Yeah, it is. For a second I thought it might have been Coleman Albert. That would have been a little awkward. And Divine Wound as well, having that 700 gold, which converted into a completed Ruby Sightstone.
And there's loads of gold here for Nick Cage after they have picked themselves up quite a few turrets and an inhibitor to spare. So that top lane nicely pushing in here for Team Nick Cage. If we take a look at the minimap, we do see the minions flowing in. And that's going to force Sein team to stay there and possibly defend their base. Well, they lost pretty much all of the map control over that middle and top lane area. So, of course, Baron area gonna be interesting. Gonna be a point of contention in the next few minutes, I believe. As without any turrets to fall back on the top lane, it's a very dangerous situation to be contesting a Baron.
Definitely for Sein team at this point. If Team Nick Cage decide to go for that Baron, it is definitely going to be a fight to their advantage, especially if they can clear out any wards beforehand, as you said, because in the top lane they have no turrets at all, and they are lacking that outer mid turret, so they do have to run a fair long distance to get back to the relative safety of that middle inhibitor tower, inner tower.
We do see them going aggressive onto the middle inner turret here, and that's probably going to open up the rest of the map here for a potential Baron attempt. I think it's still a little bit too early for that, but they do decide to go onto the middle inhibitor turret and possibly pick that one as well. There needs to be an engagement, and the death sentence lands on the tankiest member. Here comes the Stranglethorns, the fight breaks out. Arcane Barrage actually catching some people out. Loads of people from Team Nick Cage going quite low. Wannabe 9091 picks up the first kill in this fight, but is immediately followed by a kill from Annie. Look at that, Excitix caught by the Grasping Roots. So far, it's a 2-for-1 in favor of Nick Cage, and they do decide to back away, as they did go quite low due to a nice combo from Gnom Sein team. The Arcane Barrage did a lot of damage, but it was just not enough to turn the fight into their favor.
Yes, indeed, Gnom Sein team did fairly well, but they were only able to pick up one kill onto Divine Wound, while Zoctan and Wannabe did go down. As we can also see, the inhibitor in that top lane has respawned, which means that Gnom Sein team can be maybe a little more aggressive, as they no longer have the ridiculous amount of push coming through from the other lanes.
We see Lee Sin hanging around that Baron area, but he has neither an Oracle's nor a Pink Ward on him, but now his team joins him, and they are going to start off this Baron here. There is a ward, and they do not know of that ward, because there are no Vision Wards or Oracles on Team Nick Cage. So we're going to see if they'll be able to pick this one up without running in danger of having it stolen here by Gnom Sein team, and it is going down quite fast. The Arcane Barrage comes out, but it's not enough to pick it up. Baron goes to Team Nick Cage, but the Arcane Barrage still going strong. Additional charges coming out, dealing some damage, but the Baron regen will quickly heal that back up. So Gnom Sein team does lose the Baron, and we do see Team Nick Cage immediately moving on to that middle lane, clearing out the minions and starting another push.
Yeah, we actually did see Coleman R1 back out very quickly to pick up his Aegis of the Legion, which means that he's providing a nice amount of tankiness to not just himself, but the other members of his team as well.
We did see Xerath having to burn his flash here as MD Demon dived straight in, looking to deal some damage, but that's going to be a flash burn for the next team fight, which could potentially be game deciding at this point.
I was almost tempted to say that Integer's plant wouldn't be enough to finish off the blue buff, but it was, so apparently I know nothing about Zyra.
Well, you didn't say it. Would you not have said it right now, nobody would ever have been the wiser.
It's fine, people learn from my mistakes.
So we do see Team Nick Cage now making moves onto the bottom inhibitor turret. It is going quite low. And Gnom Sein team still on defense duty. Of course, it's going to be a little bit harder to defend against an all Baroned up team. And they did lose the previous fight without Team Nick Cage having the Baron. And look at that damage onto Zoctan here as he tries to land the death sentence, but gets immediately punished for it. And all team, the Gnom Sein team have here is their poke, as MD Demon finds Wannabe 1991, dives straight in. Here's the Tibbers used, Sunspire Nexus and Excitix. He does activate the final hour. Nice unstoppable forge, punches up 5 people. All 5 people of Team Nick Cage. Cyberfox manages to pick one up with the Arcane Barrage, but here's Lee Sin. 3 kills immediately coming down here for Team Nick Cage. Paranexus has to flash away, but not after actually managing to pick up the Lee Sin here. Still, it's a 3 for 2, and the inhibitor goes down. They're now gonna go straight onto the top inhibitor, possibly take that one down as well. Some damage coming out. Of course, we do see Xerath and Malphite back with full health. A tanky man and a damage dealer. We do see Pixie almost going down, but MD Demon is onto Cyberfox. Here he is going to go down, or is he? No, Paranexus managing to slow him just enough, but meanwhile, Divine Wound takes down the inhibitor, so they got what they came for, and MD Demon actually diving back in, picking up the Xerath. Pyronexus now onto him, but gets stunned by Annie! He does survive and get out alive. What a play!
That was very, very good play from MD Demon. He went incredibly low, but kept his calm, and then went in to finish off Cyberfox with a great slice and dice and Cull the Meek.
That is true, they do steal away the red buff. Oh, the death sentence lands onto MD Demon. That's gonna be his death sentence. And we talked about this in Champ Select. Anyway, they do manage to pick up a kill for themselves after having lost 2 inhibitors in one push. And Cyberfox, that play, that was quite impressive, I do have to say.
Very much so. We see the kills currently at 17-4-13 in favour of Team Nick Cage. The gold lead is nigh on 8,000 as the turrets are currently 8-4-2 in advantage of Team Nick Cage.
We did see a dragon get picked up. A piece for both of those teams, but the next dragon is now up. And pretty much the only turrets left on the map for Sein team are the middle inhibitor turret and the 2 Nexus turrets. So they have pretty much lost all of the map pressure. They can't really go out in any way. They have to stay in their base for defense duty, especially with those 2 inhibitors down. There's going to be super minions flowing in on 2 lanes at once. A very, very dire situation here for Sein team. Gonna see if they can do something and if they can make a miracle happen to at least buy them some more time to get into that late game, to get that Vayne going, because that's pretty much their last hope at this point.
Yeah, the specific miracle they require is to make sure that Excitix survives through
the cocoon lands on Vixiokas. They immediately engage, but I'm not sure if that was such a good idea. My Mind Moon picks up Cyberfox here. Actually managed to pick up a double kill as he takes down Thresh as well. MD Demon meanwhile going quite low, but again manages to survive, and this is just going to be cleanup duty here for Team Nick Cage. Wannabe 1991, the only survivor of that fight here for Sein team, decides to go and try to take down MD Demon. Will he be able to? No, he will not. And this is going to be the game as Team Nick Cage picks up the last inhibitor. DGs are being thrown out in chat. Now moving on towards the Nexus turrets. Respawn timers. This game is over. I'm not gonna talk around it. This game is over. Team Nick Cage picks up the win over Sein team after 31 minutes and 8 seconds with a gold lead of 52.0k to 39.5k, 22 kills to 13, and 11 turrets. That's all of them to 2.
That shows some very, very good objective-based play by Team Nick Cage. They systematically took down all the towers, and that early on push to take out the top inhibitor really, really paid dividends for them, as they were able to take dragons and barons in the latter stages without much interruption.